Hi, it's Robert, the Red Tie Guy, and for today's Terms, Tech, and Tips Tuesday, we are going over inspections for the seller. So, what do I mean by inspections for the seller? I mean inspections that are arranged by the seller, done before listing the home and taking showings, in the idea that it will make the home more marketable. And just to be upfront, I usually discourage this. I think that when sellers get these inspections, they're under the impression it's going to help, and more often than not, it's not always beneficial and not always necessary to get the results that they wanted. So, just to be clear, if you're thinking about getting these inspections prior to listing your home, then watch this video and see if you're one of the exceptions where I would encourage it, or be fully advised on why I think it's probably not a good idea. So, here's how we'll be doing it. What do I mean by inspections for the seller? What are the common reasons that sellers think they need this inspection? Why I think this is usually a bad idea, and last but not least, the exceptions when this could potentially be a good idea. But first, a disclaimer. This is general real estate advice and marketing advice to get you familiar with the process of selling your home. This is not, however, legal advice, and every home is different. If you're filling out the property disclosure form or any forms in regards to your home, consult with the real estate professional helping you with that transaction or with a lawyer. So, what is it that I mean by inspections for the sellers? As I've said, it's an inspection done before marketing the home, usually to present to the buyers to convince them that your home is in a very good condition, or to potentially find things that you wish to repair before you put it on the market. Maybe you're willing to do the work yourself and on your own schedule and want to find items to fix. Or perhaps you take a lot of pride in it and you want a third party to come in and tell you that things look good and you're ready to sell it. The misconception that's usually here, however, and this is what I'm talking about, is when you have an inspection done on your home, you are now obligated to disclose what they find. Even if you disagree, you've hired a professional who has created a professional report, and you're now obligated to include that in the disclosures for your home, even if you disagree with it. Now you might be getting competing ideas or competing reports to kind of balance that out, so that it doesn't seem serious. Perhaps you hired an inspector who is teaching a class, and his students point things out which may or may not be a legitimate concern, but you're still obligated to disclose it, even if you disagree with the professional who came in and did it. And this is why you probably would be better off just not having inspections, but rather keeping in mind that when the buyer makes an offer on the home, the buyer is going to bring in his own inspector, their own professionals who would work on the home or perform the repairs. And believe it or not, the buyer is probably more likely to believe the people that they hired than the people that the seller hired. And so it's typically something better to let the buyer just do the inspections themselves. And not every buyer is going to do all of the inspections. They're only going to inspect the stuff that is important to them. And you doing additional inspections and finding additional issues is just going to bring things that might not have been important to them up to their mind, and now that might now be important to them where otherwise it wouldn't. Also, keep in mind that not every buyer is going to be asking for the full length of inspections. They may have for a shorter inspection period or no inspections. The agent might drop the ball in scheduling the inspections, and not everything gets checked, and therefore they don't ask for everything. In addition, you have done an inspection on your home. You have lived there. Now, maybe, it's a rental property and you're selling and you don't have all the information. But be honest, disclose that stuff. Perhaps it's a next of kin sale and you really don't remember whether grandma or grandpa ever actually did repairs here or there. Just be honest. But in the typical traditional sale where the home goes onto the market, there's not a you have lived in the home. You know when it's been repaired. You can say that I've lived here for 10 years and I haven't had a roof leak. And for some buyers, that might be enough. Or perhaps you say it did leak and I repaired it. We had a roofer come out. Here is the report from that roofer where he detailed the work and where I paid him for the work. Also, when you are disclosing more and you are being directly honest about the work done on the home and providing more information, this creates an impression of sincerity. The more you have said where there have been issues and where you have fixed them, the more likely the buyer is to believe when they find something you weren't aware of. They're more likely to think, we found this, rather than the seller was trying to hide it and we still found it. This kind of sincerity builds an element of trust that can be very important going through a stressful inspection and repair negotiation period. It can also help in the event that you have a curveball during the appraisal and just a little less stressful getting to closing. Now, let's talk about the exceptions where, yes, in fact, an inspection might be needed. You might be in a rare circumstance where you are looking for a certain type of loan, and not everyone is familiar with that type of loan. Having that inspection to say, look, we've checked. There's not very many reasons for someone to call out why we couldn't get this loan. That's rare, but it can be useful in those particular circumstances. In addition, if your home might have had a distressing history, something that you would expect people to find if they asked the neighbors, or if they Googled your address, or if they checked the insurance claims that you provide, then yes, you might want to do an inspection to provide kind of an update that things are still good. Perhaps your roof leaked and you filed a sizable insurance claim. You repaired the walls, you repaired the roof, you patched up the ceiling. They may say, well, how do we know that all that work was good and there's nothing leaking or no moisture damage where we couldn't see? Perhaps the rehabilitation contractor missed a spot. In that case, yes, it might be easier for you to get an inspector to come in and verify that things are still good or that there's no signs things are bad. If there's a reason that they think, hey, after I make the offer, we might find out just 2 days later that this home has a very sizable repair, well, it might help to get ahead of that just to say, look, here's one report that says we're good, and we're good. And like I said before, you might find things that you wouldn't have liked. Well, if you're already planning to do the repair, do the inspection, you see how that's suddenly very much more marketable and useful than just a general repair looking for things to ask you to fix. Perhaps you've had a structural issue with the landscape, a bit of dirt or the slope off to the side of your house didn't handle the heavy rain well and came down. You've had that repaired. You've had that adjusted more structurally sound to the side of the house. Perhaps an inspection by a contractor to say, well, here's what I would recommend to reinforce this. And then you get it reinforced. That's definitely something that could be a little bit more helpful. But if it's small things, it might be better. For example, replacing carpet. It might be better just to get a bid and let the buyer pick out their own carpet or provide a concession so that they can provide their own paint. But overall, if it's not there, if you don't have a reason to believe it exists, and you have no reason to know whether it would be important to the buyer, if it doesn't prohibit the ability of your home to be move-in ready, then there's really not a need to look for it. The buyer is going to come in. They are going to look for what is important to them. And your time, energy, and money shouldn't be spent on things that, one, you don't know exist, and two, the buyer might not even ask for. Focus on other things more important and allow the buyer to do their inspections if they even choose to. And that would be the reason why you allow the buyer to do their inspections and you don't complicate it by doing your own just to find more things that you have to disclose and fix, regardless of whether they're important to the buyer, regardless of whether you agree with the reports. So that's today's Terms, Tech, and Tips Tuesday. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that you keep getting videos like this so that you are real estate smart. And yeah, feel free to give me a call, reach out to me, let me know if you're curious about what your home could sell for. And I look forward to hearing from y'all. Thank you.